P-I-C-O.
Pico Prospective. Pico Prospective.
And welcome to another edition of Pico Prospectives, the show brought to you by AVNation.tv and the boys at PicoPros.com. Welcome to another edition. We have an exciting show for you, full of news and a special guest with some cool stuff going on. First, of course, we're going to introduce our friends at Pico Pros. They are Rich and Paul Marganski, the cousins with all the information on Pico Projection. How are you, gentlemen?
Excellent.
Doing awesome.
How are you,
doing, George?
All right, and I do indeed enjoy the picture of green behind you.
It is a beautiful day here in Connecticut.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
Far different from the winters when we were all in little rooms trying to avoid what was the white outside. Definitely.
Yeah, we're trying to take advantage of the porch here.
Exactly. All right. Also, in joining us is a special guest. Who is Alex Yu from DOS Owls. He has a special
Hello.
Kickstarter program going on. Alex, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
All right. Alex, tell us a little bit about what you guys do, and we'll get into it further in the show after the news section, but give the folks just a little bit of a tease or a taste of what you do. Did we lose you, Alex? Alex?
Oh, you know what? Hold on. I was getting some feedback. Something
happens.
else. I had the live feed on, and I was hearing like two words at the same time. All right.
I've done that too. I've done that a number of times, and it's.
All right. I was like, what's going on? All right.
All right. So I'll rephrase the question so we can go into edit. Boom, 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 boom. Those watching live. We welcome Alex Hughes. Alex from DOS Owls. Alex, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for inviting me. Glad to be here. So DOS Owls is the smart projector. Smart in terms of it has Android built in inside, as well as it has batteries. So it's portable. Has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. Another way of kind of looking at it is like it has a tablet features plus a powerful Pico projector embedded with it, as well as a Bluetooth speaker.
All right. Before we get into the details of that and your business and why you got into it, give the folks a link at least or a URL they can go to look at what you do before we get there.
Yeah, it's at dosowls.com, and we're also on Kickstarter right now. And we're about 13 days to go. We're at $200,000, another $55,000 to go.
Ah, it's good. Well, let's pump that at the end as well. Yeah, let's get you guys funded. All right. Well, first, as always, gentlemen, we are in the news. There's a lot going on. You guys have a number of topics. Who's first? What are we covering?
Absolutely. I'll jump in. So, yeah, it's been kind of an interesting few months, especially for the company I'm going to highlight today is Microvision once again. We talked about Microvision, I think, in our last podcast. We talked about Sony and laser Pico projectors, all these things. Just a couple weeks ago, actually, Microvision announced another collaboration agreement, or however they want to, word it, but another collaboration or development agreement with another Fortune Global 500 electronics brand. And again, they didn't name Sony initially, and then they named Sony as that one. This one, we don't know the name of this one. Again, it's a large electronics brand. So it could be anywhere from like an Apple, a Samsung, an LG, a Nokia. I've gone through the list. And there's maybe, a couple dozen names that it could be. And of course, we're not going to find out who that is until, potentially until there's a product on the market. At least to this point, it's only been a couple weeks. You do the homework. You can see some large names in that list. And these are the global top 500 largest companies in the world. So they're working with some big names. Again, first it was Sony, now it's this other unnamed brand.
Apple, you think so?
Apple?
I think it's an Apple.
No
You
way.
think
Apple
that-
involved. You can't.
You really
that
think so?
can't be
That's why
happening.
you mentioned Apple, but I'm like, nah, I don't think so.
I'm sorry, Alex, did you say you think it's Apple?
I think it's Apple. Yeah.
All right.
Or Samsung. It's one of those.
Really? Really? Why do you think that?
I don't know, just a gut feeling. I think
Right.
it makes makes a lot of sense, and Yeah, I mean,
Samsung.
it's just the gut feeling that I have.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, Apple has patents, and some of the other ones like Panasonic and Nokia, a lot of them have patents in the not just Pico projection space, but specific to laser Pico projection, touch projection, all these things. I mean, we follow it very closely, and certainly it's viable that Apple could be in the mix on this. They're not one of the, we've talked about this before, they're not one of the first ones to enter the market for a new market like an iPod or something. But when they do it right. So you never know. I suppose it could be Apple. I'm a little, I don't want to say leery, but not sure. My bet is either on LG or Nokia for various reasons, but we don't have to go into that here.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a guess at this point.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, hey, that'd be great for them if it was Apple. It'd be great for all of us, really, because I think bringing that type of technology to market in a mass sense where, when you're talking Apple, you're talking not a couple million units, you're talking tens and tens of millions of units. That'd be pretty amazing.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I guess,
let me interject for a minute. So, Alex, would Apple be a good thing, or would it stifle the market as you see it? It's an important question here because you're talking about a big gorilla.
I think it's good for consumers. I think it's going to be maybe bad for me because it'll be kind of taking over my space. But I would question for me, from the people that I've talked to, there's only so much brightness you can get from the microvision. Right now it's about 25 lumens, which is decent, but for maybe for a phone it's okay, but I think it's too weak. And if you make lasers too bright, the issue is that you could get you could actually go blind from it. So there's only a certain amount of brightness you can get from a laser system, and that's one of the drawbacks to that microvision laser.
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid point, and there's a lot. Obviously, the company won't say anything on the topic, but if you look at the laser classifications, you want to be class 2 or below for a consumer electronics device. You're talking industrial applications, you could be class 3, R, or whatever it is. But yeah, for a mainstream consumer electronic device, you really need to be class 2 or below. There's different things they can do using different proximity sensors, or because it's a scan display where they're modulating the lasers, the standard classification for lasers doesn't quite apply to the scan laser. And this is not my area of expertise. I'm just going based on everything I've read. So it really depends when the products come out on the market, how the FDA and whatnot classify these devices.
Yeah, true.
But I guess no, the FDA, Food Drug Administration, actually regulates lasers. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought you meant
that. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they actually have to get clearance for
FCA or
FTC, Federal Trade Commission. Anyway, getting back to what I was originally talking about. So with this Global 500 OEM, whoever it is, they intend to bring a smartphone product to market in the second half of 2015. And now we're talking a little over a year from now, but that goes by pretty quick. And when you're talking about electronic devices, you always see leaks and different little things, 3, 6, 9 months ahead of time. So I imagine if there's an actual product that comes out of this, you'd start seeing stuff early next year in leaks or trade shows, or depending on which company it is, at different press conferences, just showing the technology, and then a few months later, bam, there's a product. But we'll see. It may turn out to be nothing, and we certainly hope it turns out to be something, because we're all about, we want this market to grow. We're evangelists of Pico projectors. We want the whole ecosystem to grow. So it's really exciting. We're going to continue to follow it, post everything we can on picopros.com, Twitter, Facebook, all that.
Cool. Now, guys, you also had some interesting stuff concerning projection mapping, and it involves Pico projectors?
Well, that actually doesn't involve Pico projectors, but we're
theoretically could.
Theoretically, it could, and we're all about things projector related. One of the cool things that we saw on NPR over the last month or so was they featured an article about a guy, or he's a performer in New York, and he goes by the name Dandy Punk. A Dandy Punk, or I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Maybe I'm not pronouncing it correctly. Something like that. But anyway, what he does is he's a performer down in New York, and he uses projectors to create a projection mapping type thing. And what he does is to be honest, I don't know how he uses the projectors, but I think what he's doing is using the projectors, and he's setting up a show, and he performs his show related to be based on how the projector is on a 3D object. So, like, we're going to pull up the video now, and if you watch the video, it's really, really cool. He does a really cool job of using projectors and projection mapping. So you'll see that basically he interacts with the projector images that are being displayed. It's really, really cool. We just wanted to highlight them here in a podcast. It's just a really cool way of, we're all about unique ways of using projectors.
Well,
Pico or big projectors. This is a big projector, but yeah, basically, I mean, he just goes through he creates an art show with these Pico projectors. He creates an art show with these projectors using projector mapping, which for anybody who doesn't know what projector mapping is projection mapping is basically just using a projector and projecting it on a 3D object to kind of show that there's an actual thing on the 3D object. So if you were to basically like project something on like a building, like on the corner of the building, you can actually show one thing on the corner of a building and as opposed to another one. But it has a lot of really cool uses. One of the cool uses that we kind of highlight a little bit in a couple other shows was displaying like a butterfly on somebody's arm or something like that. It's basically like projecting reality on any object.
It's augmented reality for projection, basically, right?
And
this is so cool.
Yeah.
Well,
There's ways to do it.
I can speak to this because I work for a company that does this
Right.
a lot. It is very cool, and there's been lots of discussion about Pico projections being useful in this application, because if you can use these in a network or a networked application, the space that you can create these in becomes not just smaller but expandable.
Right. I mean, you can have like a small Pico projector in, say, an iWatch or something like that, and you can project something on your arm, like we saw in Sixth Sense, or something very similar to that, and you can actually bring, a somewhat pseudo-reality, I guess, to any object. As he's doing in the video there, he's almost like creating a cartoon book environment.
Right, and this is much like, there's other projects like Icebook. I forget the name of the group that did Icebook. Then there's, I can't remember the gentleman's name that did the other guy did the Nikola Tesla TED Talk, where he had like a flip book that had projection on top of it.
Right. Yeah. I forget his name, but he's like a magician.
Yeah, exactly. It'll come to me.
Yeah, it's really cool. Projection mapping is not a new thing. It's just we thought
it's getting more accessible, I think, to the masses.
It's a really cool way of using projectors, because people think of, in my opinion, I think people think of projectors being used in like a living room, projecting like TV or like a video or something like that. I don't think a lot of people think of projectors in this unique way of using them as creating a whole new environment, and just, there's a lot of different uses.
I think something like. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I want to ask this because one of the very first shows we did, and when we did the AVNation special with Pico Projection, we walked and talked with the projection freak, Jeff Gooch.
Yep.
And you guys spoke with him. And right now, most of the Pico projectors are not networkable, which would be a requirement to get them in sync. But there's a real future here. I want to throw this to Alex. Alex, do you have any thoughts about that possibility where this expands Pico Projection into another realm where we can use these for digital displays and for these unique environments?
Yeah, if you look at the market, I think good 80%, 85% of the Pico projector will probably be business or consumer oriented in the next few years. Yeah. But in terms of the way that I'm kind of positioning the company and kind of looking at it, it's the 5% of the artists, like that Daffy Dunk, or what was that guy's name?
Dandy Punk.
That's just amazing stuff. And I think what they want to do, all the features are going to come out of artists. And in that, those features, what they want to do, that will be transitioned into what the everyday consumers. And what Pico Projector and like the docile Odin that what we're developing and Pico projectors in general, for us, like what Odin is all about being connected to the network, like through the Android system or through the Windows system. And it's really the creativity that normal people can have, because everyone can pretty much become a projection artist, just like that guy. And I think we're just kind of scratching the surface as to where we're going now.
Yeah, personally, I'm waiting for the killer app, the app that basically really highlights the features of a Pico projector, and then you see everybody start using it in that way.
It makes it so that the general person has a need for a Pico projector. Right now, most people probably don't have a need for a Pico projector in their daily lives, but I think as we get into touch projection, projection mapping, some of these other things where you can actually do projection meshing or interactive type things with more than one projector, I think possibilities for gaming, art, all those things become a reality if it's done correctly, that you just download an app and it kind of just works.
Well, let me ask this question then. Are we looking for the app that will make Pico Projection the next YouTube? Because what you're describing to me is a collaborative effort between people to make something, whether that's your family's vacation videos or something bigger. Is that what we're waiting for to breach the gap?
I think if you're looking at just sharing family photos, I think the iPad, let's say, does a pretty good job of that. The screen, whatever, it's 8.5 or whatever it is, I don't even know. I think it's that next layer where you're doing unique things with the projection, either, again, whether it's touch projection or meshing of multiple projectors or whatever it is. I had this idea with Richard that if the average consumer, let's say even 30% of consumers had a projector in their mobile device, whether it's a tablet or a cell phone or whatever, and they were able to combine projection. I had a 30-lumen projector, he had a 30-lumen projector, and somehow we were able, magically through an app, proximity sensors, whatever, make them overlap or just, be side by side as a widescreen, so you can have one giant display that's either twice as bright or twice as wide or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think things like that are going to make it much more usable rather than trying to cram a 100-lumen projector in your cell phone, which arguably may or may never happen.
Mm. Well, it's a dream.
Yeah, of course.
Because I have to say, my tentative steps into this, and knowing you guys, was that there's very creative options for doing this stuff, and what this guy shows and what you're showing us with Danny Punk means that there's a lot of people who can do very artistic things, and YouTube has shown something, is that we can joke about it as much as we want about YouTube, about cat videos. There's a lot of creative people building a lot of creative things on YouTube, and this could be the next step. Sort of like, I don't know, I'm going to random this, guys using Minecraft to build these virtual worlds, and outside of it, building stuff they learned in it to build Lego models or electrical systems based on what Minecraft taught them. There's a lot of potential here.
Yeah.
Huge.
Huge.
I mean, you could even do like, what do you call it, where people go around, scavenger hunt kind of thing. I almost see this thing where you could do, like, you're projecting around your town in stores or whatever, and as you project, it knows your coordinates and where you're projecting, and it projects certain content only if you're pointing at a certain direction, whether it's for coupons inside a retail store or whatever it is. That in real time, within your own life gamification. I think there's going to be weird things that sound really weird off the wall, but the more I think about them, I think people are looking for more than just playing a video game. It's more about bringing the real world into that, kind of like Second Life, but like actually Second Life, like you're in the real world, and Second Life is kind of like this, the virtual part of it. It's like the opposite of Second Life. Where you're actually acting in real life, you know what I mean?
I personally just think we need to get beyond projectors being, displaying music videos or videos or something like that. It's like
it's two-dimensional right now.
It's cool. It's cool that you can show pictures and videos on your wall that are huge, and that's really great. But I don't know. Steam's going to burn out with that one, and I think the next thing is, I don't know. You got to make a really cool interactive app using Pico projectors.
Absolutely.
Where they're going to take off. I mean, I don't know. How many people really you're going to buy a smartphone because it has a Pico projector so that you can share a large.
You see the Galaxy Beam, the sales are, we don't know what the sales are, but the total market is in the single-digit millions. So they're not, even if Apple,
it's probably thousands.
Yeah,
I've actually seen not the Galaxy Beam, but I've actually played around with one of the other models that was actually on the phone. It's gonna be like 10, 15 lumens at best, and 10, 15 lumens is just not useful, or even 30 or 35. My machine has 115. I thought that was just barely good enough for everyday consumers. But I think the technology is probably about a year or two away, and I know there's technology coming out that's just getting more efficient, especially from Texas Instruments. And you're just going to see it leaps and bounds in terms of the technology that's coming out of the Picos.
Well, let me ask you this, Alex. What is the next step? I was just at Infocom, which is a trade show for the commercial installation folks in integration. And they showed a couple of places showed small projectors. Some of them were fanciful, but on whole, they're starting to show them.
Right. So it's smart. It's got to be smart now, and that's got to have Windows. It's got to have Android, or if Apple comes out with it, it's got to have like a application platform that you can use, and it be connected with the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth to connect to the online internet.
Well, I think this is a perfect transition to talk about what DOS Owls does.
Right.
Give us a moment now. We can go into detail here. What is DOS Owl? What are you building, and what are you looking to go for?
Okay. First, I built this because I wanted it, I needed it, and I couldn't find anything like it. I got rid of my cable and my TV, a CRT tube, about 4 years ago, and I still wanted to watch a Netflix. And I was watching on my iPad with my girlfriend, which was not very, it's not an ideal scenario. So I actually looked at Microvision Showmax, but it was too small, it was too limited, there was no sound. I was looking at all these options, I just couldn't find it, and I was looking to start a new business anyway, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to build a system that combines, that I can just watch in a small form factor, like a Pico size, and then I just want to watch Netflix. And that was my basic goal. I just want to watch Netflix on my Pico projector that has good sound. And the way you could watch Netflix is through Android or Hulu through Android platform, and then we put a nice speakers that you would find on a JBL or Bose mini Bluetooth speaker. And another major important factor is you could twist it and you could actually watch it on the ceiling because it actually rotates up. And that was one of the things that I really wanted because I wanted to watch movie on the ceiling.
So so this is a mirror rig, or is it a lensing that?
No, it actually rotates.
The whole physical piece, or?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. So you can project it on, and you're projecting with the keystone. It doesn't matter. Is there any correction for that?
This current model doesn't have keystone, so it's pretty much straight on. As long as it's straight onto the ceiling or straight onto the wall, it's fine.
So I like this in the essence that the Pico projection market still is about the makers, which you are as a maker. Now, describe to me, you said that you wanted to make this for your own needs. How did you start? Where did you find the resources to do what you did?
So I started probably about a year ago, and I did not have any electronics background at all. I started out in the finance industry after school, did that for 5 years, and I actually started a custom clothing business, online custom clothing business about 8 years ago. I'm an entrepreneur by trade. It's no specialty in any single industry. You just kind of learn any new industry that you want to continue to work on. So I want to build this Pico type of device, and I try to build it. I went to the maker fairs, I went to the meetup groups, and I try to meet as many people as possible with very little luck here. But I did find that DLP Pico was the most widely used technology. So I kind of went on their website, did some research, found some vendors, and started talking to a lot of people, and that kind of led me to China. So I've made many trips to China. Was lost. There were some moments where I was lost and had no idea how to get back to the hotel because I didn't speak the language. I'm Korean, not Chinese. So like that was like, there were some difficult times there, but I found the right people, right engineers. There's not too many. If I wanted to develop Odin here, it would have cost me $500,000 for sure, which I did not have.
Wow.
Not a lot of people have it.
Yeah, not a lot of people have it, but I was able to do it at a fraction of the cost, and the speed that I was able to develop it in China was absolutely amazing because they make it everything over there.
Hey, Alex, can I jump in real quick? Ask you something?
Yeah.
So when you say it would have cost $500,000 or whatever, order of magnitude, are you saying just to get the prototypes and the tooling set up to do that?
I wouldn't even just the prototype in the U.S.
Yeah.
Not including the tooling. Tooling is a different animal.
Yeah.
But I've gotten quotes from minimum $200,000 to
right.
include making the prototypes and stuff like that, because there's not too many people. If the people with experience, they work at Google and Microsoft. They're not going to be working with me. So, so that's one of the pitfalls.
Wow. So then, so I'm sorry. You made multiple trips to China. You found the right contacts there. You chose DLP because it's the most advanced, the most widely available. So how did you? So I guess in a second maybe you should go through what's actually in the Odin projector. But how did you list out what your priorities were as far as brightness, resolution, whatever features as far as HDMI or whatever? Is it based on personal preference or did you ask around?
No, it was pretty much personal preference.
Yeah.
I looked at the 35 lumens are the ones in Brookstone, and those to me it's not really useful for $400.
Right.
Think.
So for me it was just personal preference. What do I want? I want an HDMI port to put Xbox hookup. I wanted to put on the ceiling because I wanted to watch it on the ceiling when I'm sleeping.
Right.
And of course brighter the better, right? But obviously brighter. It gets hotter and it's more expensive. So those were kind of the trade-offs, and in terms of Android speed, obviously quad core is better than dual core, and more RAM is better than less RAM. And I just kind of had to pick out a right balance. I looked at some of the other the specs in other devices like the tablet and the phone to see what the right numbers were for that.
So did you have a certain price point in mind when you started the project and kind of, I don't want to say shoehorn, but kind of figure out what the best features are to fit that price point? Or did you put what you thought would be reasonable and then figured out the price and said, oh, I got to trim this back? I'm just curious because I've never gone through that in this particular type of product.
For the price, I kind of took, I just wanted to start it and make it. That was the number one goal. And the price of what I'm going to sell it on retail, how much it's going to cost me, what I'm going to wholesale it at. I kind of took a back. Those kind of took a back. It was not a priority for me. Because whatever the cost of it is now, it'll come down in the future with any other technology. I just want to get a foothold, and I want it to be the first one in the U.S. to be able to make this. And I want it to be known as the smart projector company, which is Dos Owls. And I really wanted that first mover advantage, and I think we have it. So.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That's good to have you on the show.
So I guess what I would ask is, do you want to list out maybe some of the high-level specs of the product? Because I've gone through it and I've watched the video on Kickstarter. Very exciting stuff. I don't know if we could pull up the video while we're talking about the specs or not. If we link that up with you, George, I can't remember. But are you able to go through maybe, Alex, the high-level specs of the product?
Yeah. So the specs is one thing, but it's really what you can do with it. Okay.
Yeah.
And what you can do with it is portable. You can carry it with you. It's battery powered. It has 2-hour battery, so you can carry it with you, and has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So that means if I'm in the park late at night, let's say, and then I could just put a hotspot on my mobile phone and then I'll be able to get a, I'll be able to connect to the internet. So having that battery power was very important, and having Android KitKat, which is the latest one for right now, that was important because I could access the Netflix and the Hulus of the world, all the apps. And I put in a pretty powerful, for Pico size, 115 lumens. That's the latest technology that's out there from Texas Instruments. So that's a very powerful optical engine for Pico projector. And I also put in a Bluetooth speaker. So it has two modes. It has a projector mode, and then it has a speaker mode. So even during the daytime, it can function as like a JBL Bluetooth speaker or like a Bill Pills from Beats. So it's not just a nighttime type of device. It can also use it during the daytime, which is what I was looking for.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, I watched the video on the Kickstarter website, and it's a really sharp-looking projector, and I don't know. It's nice to have an artistic kind of or a more creative look at the Pico and how you'd actually use it. And I love the flip feature of the hinge. I'll call it a hinge. You probably have better terminology. Okay, yeah, beautiful. So you could use the hinge to project vertically. And
very scientific.
It's very scientific. Yeah, it's a beautiful product, and right now I know it's just a prototype, but if you're able to raise your full amount and be able to get some of these out, I think people see the value not only in the aesthetics of it, but in the thinking behind. I don't want to minimize, but like the average user, and let's just say you're the average user. You're a little bit more than the average user, obviously, but you're finding it a little more, from a user standpoint, you're trying to solve the problem for your own needs. And in doing that, you're creating something that probably, a lot of the other companies are looking at a purely engineering or corporate, they're looking at it from a corporate standpoint, where you're looking at it from an actual user. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, but hopefully we could help kickstart your Kickstarter campaign, get this out there, and then we could do a review of your projector. I mean, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we're showing you a video right now, displaying the Kickstarter video.
Oh yeah, okay,
that playing. Yeah, so we got that going through. Really cool. Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Just what Paul said. Once you have something that we can review, it'd be awesome if we could. Get that in our hands and play around
then
with
we could do a live podcast with that if we
wanted
to.
Yeah, exactly. Have you back on the show and that type of thing.
And then version 2.0, do another campaign. That'd be awesome.
Exactly. Cool.
Yeah. I think what was interesting, you commented on the artistry of it.
Yeah.
Like, we really want to get the cues from the artist. Not, engineers are good at the inside, at making sure it works well. But actually, my girlfriend actually helped me out a lot in terms of designing the finishes. She's a jewelry designer, and so she knows about the little fine details of finishes, and whether it be a matte finish, whether it be a gloss finish, and those little small details really make it.
Awesome.
It's very important. And I don't have an engineering background at all, so could it look better? Yeah, I think it can look better, but is it looking a lot better than what's out there from the the regular companies out there? Yes. But I hope in the second and third generation of it will be just what you would call beautiful, not like just, that's a cool looking. I want them to say beautiful in terms of the stuff we make.
I love that you brought in your girlfriend with the artistic or the jewelry background, the design aspect, because it immediately made me think of Steve Jobs with his background in calligraphy and fonts and how he brought that to the early Macs. And it's all about the user experience. It's simple things about fonts, usability, user interface. I mean, you took courses on not user interface. What's it called? Human-machine interface. You can have a great app, but if the interface is terrible, nobody's going to want to use it.
Right.
It's got to be. You can have the best freaking thing available, but if people have a hard time using it, they're not going to want to use it. You got to make your thing simple. Just so easy for people to use.
Exactly.
Like, simple and attractive. Like you have your projector is very attractive. If it's nice to look at, like people want to use it, people are going to use it.
And not to talk about a competitor, let's say necessarily, but we've reviewed the Favi J6 LED Pico. We talked about it last month. to date, that's probably one of the best implementations of a Pico projector to date, and that's just simply a, more or less say a smartphone without the 3G card or whatever, 4G. But it's very simple. It's a little bit bigger than a cell phone. Had Wi-Fi access, simple to use. All that. I mean, that's probably the most advanced Pico projector on the market right now. And based on what we're seeing with the Odin, you're taking that another level or two above that. So it's really exciting to see this continual evolution of it really is coming onto the user interface, because yeah, brightness is probably the most important thing right now, but user interface is really right up there with brightness, and then the other specs kind of fall in line behind that, in my opinion.
Yeah, if you have an ugly device, people aren't going to want to use it. They're going to like, what the heck is this thing? It's from 1989. I'm not going to use this thing. So you want to have a nice, sleek
Don't
device.
quit your day job.
No, but like seriously, when people go out to the store, they're like, all right, do I want to get this chunky, thing, cell phone that's clunky and it's got a flip thing on it, or do I want to go to this nice, sleek, all glass interface with an all flat, all touch interface? Like people, when you have a very nice design thing, then people are going to get more attracted to that.
Right. Why is Microsoft and BlackBerry getting killed in the smartphone market?
Well,
they have terrible apps and terrible user interface. It really comes down to that.
Microsoft's not getting real deep. I mean, they got.
Well, I have a question for Alex. So, I mean, in the design side, I mean, it's the first time I've seen this, Alex. I haven't had a chance to review the video. It is a slick-looking product. It looks like something you want. And Rich and Paul talked about if it's designed well and it looks right, you want to use it, whether it's a guitar, a drum, or a Pico projector.
Whatever it is.
And this looks like you want to use it. So kudos to you. That was really well done.
Thank you.
And to your girlfriend, so she will her kudos. Backslash or two, I suppose.
Design's a huge thing. I mean, if it's ugly and it looks clunky and if it just looks unattractive, you just don't want to use it. You're just not.
Would you rather drink out of a coffee cup with hot coffee in it with a handle or without a handle? I mean, it's as simple as that. In my mind, it's so simple. Anyway.
What?
Well, gentlemen, we have hit the mark where we are at 30 minutes. It goes so fast. Alex, I want to give you a chance. Please tell the folks where your website is and the Kickstarter campaign, where you are and what you need to do, and let's get you some funding.
Okay, we have 13 days left. We're at $195,000 right now, so we're short about $55,000. Just go to Kickstarter. Go to Dos Owls, like Uno Dos Tres, dosowls.com, and just pledge and help us get this Pico projector off the ground. We really need it, and we'll get it done. But with your help, we'll definitely will make it easier for me.
I think the industry needs this to succeed, because they need creative types to bring innovative products that the other OEMs may or may not be really doing quite right, and all the other companies are doing great work. We review all the projectors; are really nice, but I think the niche or the more creative types are going to push the envelope in different areas where maybe the mass market OEMs aren't doing that, and I think it's a wonderful thing. So yeah, if you have the ability to fund them, you absolutely should fund Dos Owls on Kickstarter.
Yeah, and I think another point that I would like to make is there's a hardware revolution that's just starting right now. And if you look at a lot of the Kickstarter, the projects that are coming on, this would not have been possible without Kickstarter or Indiegogo.
Right.
The fact that I can actually have the ability or the option of funding the mass production, the first mass production of it. So crowdfunding is so important. That's allowing me to do this. And second, there's just like 3D printing. Obviously, that's helping with everyone. Oh, you know what? I can make it now. It's giving everyone an ability. Oh, the idea that I can make it. I can be the next, next hardware company like GoPro or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Good example I want to bring up is actually the Oculus Rift. The Oculus Rift augmented reality headset. They started on Kickstarter, and one of my friends actually picked one of them up. But basically, they started on Kickstarter, just how you're doing Kickstarter. Well, they were picked up by Facebook.
Right.
Facebook picked up the Oculus Rift, and you know, it's not too far off from somebody possibly picking up the Odin projector system that you got. So Kickstarter is a really cool thing. I think. Yeah, I wish I was the person that invented Kickstarter. But, yeah, it is a really cool thing. But I'm just saying, congratulations, and I hope you do well.
Yeah,
thank you.
Wish you all the luck.
Yeah, wish you all the luck, definitely.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, Rich and Paul, tell us any final words on what's going on today?
Well, for our next show, I think we're going to do some holographic stuff, right?
I think we're going to be talking holographic stuff.
Holographic stuff is next time.
Holographic projection from your phone. There's a really interesting company.
Could we see Star Wars in our future?
Yeah, exactly. Princess Leia.
Obi-Wan.
I think that's our next topic. Is going to be holographic projection. But there's some cool.
Yeah, we'll talk about that probably next time. Anyway, but sorry.
Little teaser. No, that's good.
All right.
So yeah, no. Other than that, no, it's been a fun show. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you very much for Alex. Doing a great thing.
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
All right, well, I want to remind people that this has been the Pico Prospective Show from AVNation.com in collaboration with the PicoPros.com website. That's Paul and Rich Marganski who run that. If you have any questions on Pico Projection, go check out their website, PicoPros.com, and you see this show and other shows on Pico Projection at AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv, we are the industry leader in podcasts for the audiovisual network. We are the audiovisual podcast that is made for and by working AV professionals. I want to thank our guests, Paul and Rich Marganski, for hosting this show. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
George.
Thank you. Bye.
And of course, our special guest, Alex Yu of DOS Owls. Check out his Kickstarter campaigns. Check out his DOSOwls.com website. Send him some money. Support him. Get the product.
Please.
Thank you. All right.
All right.
This has been a production of AVNation and Pico Prospectives. That's PicoPros.com and AVNation. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.